Hey family, how are you? This is Amats with you once again. I'm going to be starting a new series called No Lack of Knowledge, where I'm going to be dealing with many things that are important to our health, our well-being, and our very lives as our exodus has started back into our Father's land. The war that is happening around us has many faces, and it's important that we are very aware and alert. And so on this segment, we're going to be looking at the companies Monsanto, BASF, and DuPont. On this segment, though, we're going to be focusing mainly on Monsanto and their weed killer, which is called Dicamba. And so I hope that it will help you to be alert, keep your eyes open, and understand what's happening around you. So it's important that us here in Africa, that we're ahead of what is happening around us. Why is that? Because what I've noticed is that there seems to be a arms wide open approach to hug up anything that sounds good by those who have had the very track record of doing nothing but bringing us destruction. So we're going to talk about Monsanto's weed killer Dicamba. And before we get there are some things to consider. For thousands of years, our forefathers have been farming with great success without these killer chemicals that are supposed to kill weeds. The joke, however, has been on us, because the goal of all these chemicals is to really take control of the food supply and nature if they can, with the end result being chemicals in the environment that cause cancer and will eventually erode the food supply. And there's a saying that says, he who controls the food controls the people. Additionally, what these chemicals end up doing is creating what's known as superweeds that are only going to require even more chemicals to kill them. And then what happens is that the vicious cycle just continues. So what is Dicamba? Dicamba is a very old weed killer that was first introduced as far back as 1958. Can you imagine? It quickly became the most widely used herbicide. It was supposed to have been reformulized with Monsanto and BASF, and they want to sell it to us. This is a very dangerous chemical. Most importantly, Monsanto was caught in the past manipulating the results of the weed killer in the field. Several years ago, when Monsanto first moved to make Dicamba the centerpiece of its new weed-killing strategy, what the company did was that they tweaked the genes in soybeans and cotton and created genetically modified versions of those crops. And the end result was that those crops would be able to tolerate high doses of Dicamba, when normally Dicamba would kill those crops. This allowed farmers to spray Dicamba directly to those crops, killing the weeds while sparing those crops. This is an approach that Monsanto pioneered with other crops throughout the years that were genetically modified, like tomatoes and various other things, to tolerate glyphosate or Roundup. After decades of exposure to these chemicals, however, devastating weeds such as what they call pigweed developed resistance. And so farmers, what they had to do is that they had to look for more chemicals to kill these very weeds. Dicamba, on the other hand, has a well-known effect. It's very volatile, and it tends to evaporate from the soil where it has been sprayed, creating a cloud of plant-killing vapor that can spread in unpredictable directions, sometimes over hundreds of miles. Now, this happens more in hot weather, so Monsanto's strategy would be to have the chemicals sprayed in the summer heat or in places that are consistently hot. So Monsanto and two other chemical companies, BASF and DuPont, announced that they had solved this problem with what they call a new low volatility formulation of the chemical. Dicamba did not evaporate as easily, supposedly, in this formulation. Well, one of the things we can know as a track record with these companies is that if they're speaking, they're lying. So these are the different names under which Dicamba has been marketed as over the years. Bankville herbicide, Markman herbicide, Clarity herbicide, Distinct herbicide, and Status herbicide. And now it's marketed as Zintendamax. I want everyone to familiarize themselves with these names. So Dicamba was formulated to treat weeds that became resistant to glyphosate. And we're going to get back to glyphosate in another segment. So how does Dicamba work? Dicamba mimics what they call auxin, a natural plant hormone, and causes uncontrolled cell division and growth. The plant then dies because of damage to the vascular tissue. So what about Dicamba and your health? Well, what has been realized over many years, and more so in the past few years, is that glyphosate is highly damaging to your health. And it is believed that Dicamba is even worse. So according to the data, Dicamba is associated with causing lung and colon cancer. What I want to say, family, is that with proper farming practices, such as giving the soil time to rest, will greatly limit the proliferation of weeds and insects when farming. Not planting non-hybrid fruits and vegetables will also bring higher yields because non-hybrid varieties have their own natural mechanisms to resist insects and fungus. And most importantly, all of these chemicals kills the soil, which in turn removes all nutrients from the soil that is supposed to be taken up in the food in which you will eventually eat. So as I say, we need to familiarize ourselves, we need to be on guard, because it is written that if we return to the ancient path, in it is life for us. Salema family.